Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to be making a mosaic in the style of Faith Ringgold. Now, Faith Ringgold has written several children's books. One of my favorites is called Tar Beach, and I'd like for you to watch that video about Tar Beach. It's the book being narrated. And today we're going to be making a mosaic out of paper. So you're going to need your papers that were in your kit. If you did not have a kit, then you're just going to need to collect several different colors of paper and make sure that you've got some different blues for the sky, brown, black, green, yellow, and a base color, whatever you want your base color to be. The base color is going to kind of show through around your edges, so you want to pick something that's very kind of plain. So you could do a beige if you wanted to, or a white. I like the white because it really makes it pop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut our papers into little pieces, and we're going to use those pieces to put together to make our mosaic. So what we're going to do first is we're going to draw out the mosaic very, very lightly with a pencil because we don't want it to show. Then we're going to take all those little pieces that we've cut out, and we're going to place those on there and glue them down to make the mosaic. I think you're really going to enjoy this, so let's get started, okay? Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is sketch out my sunflower. So it doesn't have to be perfect because you're just using this as a guide. You're going to use the colored paper to make your design, okay? So I want it to be kind of off-center just a little bit, so I'm going to make my circle over here. And like I said, we don't want to stencil or anything because we want it to be very natural, okay? And nothing in nature is perfect, so we don't have to worry about that. All right, so there's our base of our sunflower. And then I'm gonna make another circle inside of there to know where to change the colors. So let's see if you can see that. I think you can. All right, now the next thing I want to do is I want to think about how far out I'm going to do my petals. Now, I don't want to draw all of my petals because I don't want to have pencil lines everywhere. So I'm just going to think about making my petals around like this, and then I'm going to make my stem come down. So I'm just going to make a stem, just the outline of a stem, and then I'm going to make a leaf, and I want it to kind of go off the page. So my leaf is going to overlap on the stem a little bit, so I'm going to erase that part where it overlaps just so nothing shows. So I've got my basic outline like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue paper, I'm going to move this over to the side, and I'm going to take my blue paper and I'm going to cut some different shapes to make my background. And so first I'm just going to kind of cut it into strips. And I'm not going to cut my whole sheet yet because I might not need the whole thing. So I don't want to make too many little pieces in case I don't really need them. And it's okay if your lines aren't straight, because if you were using glass or tile, they're not always going to break straight either. So don't worry about it being perfect. There's no worry about that because we're going to make it look good. So I'm going to set those over to the side. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut this part into little pieces. To make my background. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's perfect because we want it to kind of all go together. And later, if I need some smaller pieces, what I can do is go back and I can fill them in with some other pieces that I cut. I'm going to do a couple at a time just to speed up the process. I must have something sticky on my scissors because it's kind of getting stuck on there. I'm going to kind of cut these at an angle just to have some difference in them. because I want it to be a variation. I don't want everything to be exactly the same. So there's a bunch of those. I'm gonna put this one over to the side for right now, and then I'm gonna cut some of this other color blue. Okay, so I'm gonna push that over to the side. So there's my blue pile. Then I'm gonna cut some brown. I'm gonna make the brown a little bit smaller. And I'm not gonna make me watch, let me try that again. I'm not gonna make you watch me cut up all these little pieces. I'm going to push pause in a minute, and when we come back, I want you to have your blue, your brown, and your green, and some black all cut into some little pieces. Don't cut your yellow yet. Wait on the yellow, and I'm gonna show you what to do, okay? I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm back. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the tape off the glue and open up our little glue bottle so it'll be ready. Just kind of put that over to the side. Ooh, it's kind of hard to get off. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna start out by doing the outside. So I'm gonna do the outside part. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue down, not a whole lot, just a little bit. And I'm gonna put down my glue like this. Then I'm gonna take some of the pieces of brown and I'm gonna start laying them down on top of that glue. Now, you gotta make sure you get glue under all of it. So I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna add some glue with my paintbrush because that way I can control exactly where it's at. So I'm gonna go around and put my papers, my brown papers. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to make it be all covered up right up next to it. You want, and you can use your end of your thing to kind of push it down. But you don't want it to be right up next to it. You want there to be some space in between, okay? That way it shows through, and that kind of looks like the grout, like you would have on a, that looks like the grout that you would have on a ceramic piece or something. So we want to leave that part. We want it to show. We'll add some more in. Just tap it down with the end of your brush. And the thing about it is, if you want to, you can go through and cut some pieces to fit better. They don't all have to be exactly the same because it's supposed to be like you're using little scraps of the mosaic material. So you can go through and add in some different shapes if you want to. It doesn't have to all fit in there perfectly. And later, if you want to go back with some smaller pieces, you can do that too. And we'll kind of make this go around here like that. So you're going to keep doing that on all the parts that you want to have the brown on there. And you can kind of even go over your papers that you've put down with some glue, because this glue is going to dry clear and that'll help it stay on. That's why I gave you such a thick piece of paper, okay? So you're gonna keep going all the way around. And this is not something that you can get in a hurry. You don't wanna get in a hurry because then it'll look messy. So take your time. It's very relaxing. So take your time as you go around. Just do a little bit of glue at a time, because if you do it all the way around, your glue's gonna dry before you can get it all on there. So don't put too much, okay? So we'll go around here, and get a smaller piece. Let's see if I've got one. If I don't, I'm gonna cut one. Here's one that's smaller. So I'm gonna make it fit in that little spot, kind of like a little puzzle piece. See, I don't want them too close. So I'm gonna go around and get all my biggest pieces first, and then if I need to, I can go around and fill in a little bit. So I'm gonna just do this outside circle first with this brown, and then I'll go inside of here and I'm gonna do the black on the inside like that. The reason why I picked the sunflowers is because in one of Faith Ringgold's pictures that I love so much, of one of her quilts, there's all these sunflowers at the bottom. And it reminds me of Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers, which is one of my favorite pictures. I just love that one. So I thought that it might be kind of neat to do this to kind of pull all those together. And plus it's sunflower time, so I thought that would be kind of cool too. So that's why I picked it. Let's see, I'm gonna spin that around a little bit. And you can just kind of move it around with the end of your brush to make it fit in there. And there's really no way to mess this up, guys. It's just fun. You don't want to put them too close together. That was your first thing. You want to have some space. You want where it looks like the grout coming around. And really, that's the only rules. You can do it however else you want. And really, I mean, if you wanted it to be all together, you could do that. It just wouldn't look as much like a mosaic. And we'll kind of cut a little triangle right here, just to fit one in. I just want it to look different every once in a while, so I'm going to kind of pull that through there like that. Okay, I'm gonna come back in a little bit once I've got that done, okay? Okay guys, so I've got the brown on there, and I wanted to tell you a couple of things. So, as you're working, you need to make sure, like I said, that you're getting your glue down in there. And since this is your first mosaic, I would probably suggest that you use bigger pieces, because if you try to do a whole bunch of little teeny tiny pieces, you're gonna get really frustrated. So I want you guys to make sure that you start out with some small, or with some larger pieces is what I meant to say first, and then you can just fill in with the smaller pieces, because I don't want you to get frustrated. Now, what you can do is once you use your bigger pieces, you can kind of take your glue and touch your brush to some of these smaller pieces and place those in there like that, and then just kind of put a little bit of glue around them and on top of them to get them where you want them, because that's going to dry clear. But it's easier to pick them up like that than it is to try to do it with your fingers, okay? So that's a little trick that I've kind of discovered. So I've done all the brown. Of course, there's a couple of little pieces that I could probably add into, like right here. I'm gonna take this little piece and add it in right there. And then of course I could add another piece over here. So you can keep adding on. You don't have to not go back to another color. You can add in other colors as you go if you miss a piece or you want to add some more in there. So I've got all that filled in pretty good. Now there's a couple of little pieces that I could still stand to fill in some spots. So I'm going to cut a couple of more little teeny tiny pieces, put them down on my paper, pick up a little bit of glue with them because this part looked kind of lonely. So I'm gonna give him some glue. And then this part looks kind of lonely. So I'm gonna give him some. Now, as it dries, you might decide you want some more pieces in there, and that's fine. So the next thing I'm gonna do is my inside, and I'm gonna do that with the black. So I'm gonna get started with that, and I will show you in a minute how I come back to that. Actually, I'm gonna just go ahead and do a few pieces of black while you're watching. And you can fast forward past this if you get it, that's fine. But just to kind of show you. So I'm gonna kind of go around with my black. I'm gonna scoop that over just a little bit because I don't really want that one big piece. I don't really like that big piece, so I'm gonna take it off. I want smaller pieces. So I'm gonna go in here and find some smaller pieces. Now, of course, you can do bigger pieces if you want to, that's fine. But I just wanted a few smaller ones. So I'm gonna pick that up, start going around with my glue. And I'm just gonna fill that in. But yeah, I'm just picking it up. I'm getting it ready. I'm picking it up with my paintbrush, putting it down. And what I'll do is I'll go back and tap it down on top of that glue. And then I'll probably take my glue and paint it over the top just to make it good and sealed up in there. And you can wait a little while to do that if you want to. You can wait until you get it all on there and it's sat there for a few minutes and soaked down. That's no problem. It's whichever way you want to do it. But I did already have a layer of glue underneath there. I don't know if you saw me do that part or not, but I already had a little bit of glue under there, so that's what's causing it to stay. So as I go around, I'm just gonna keep picking up some more pieces, turning them. Of course, if I don't like where it's at, I can just use the end of my brush to kind of go around it. And then I can always go back and cut some smaller pieces if I want to do that, to put them in there, okay? So go ahead, guys, and fill in your next part, and I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Okay, now we're going to add some of the green for the stem. So you're gonna kind of do it the same way. Paint on some glue to start out with. Get you some pieces close by of how you wanna do them. Different sizes, make sure you got your scissors handy in case you need to trim anything. So I'm gonna need some that are skinnier and some that are not as skinny. So I'm gonna put my skinnier ones on one side and my thicker ones on the other side. Of course, that one's not gonna need a skinnier one. It was wide enough. That one's too big. It's kind of like a puzzle, really. Now this green has a texture to it, so you want to make sure. I like the part where the texture shows. So I'm going to make sure my texture shows. Let's see. I think I'll make this little part down here, just to add some interest. cut some skinnier slices to go on this side. Thanks. There's that texture I like. Oh, let's push that guy down. Some more going down here. Add some more. Let's see, I need a little short piece right there. That'll work. All right, so as you can see, there's the stem, and then I'm gonna add in the leaf. So with the leaf, I wanna have sort of a pointy part for the end. So I'm gonna cut some pieces that are triangular to kind of decide how I want this leaf. And then maybe I'll cut some of these pieces skinnier to go along the edge. That's really bigger than I want, so I'm gonna cut this guy in half because I don't want it to be too much like that. I'll cut some more triangles. Just cut some odd shapes for this one, just to make it look different. Okay, so now I'm gonna just kind of add in my leaves. So I'll let you guys do that part. Come back in just a minute. Okay, so we're back and we're videoing the rest of the program or the lesson. My brain's kind of fried, I'm getting hungry. But anyway, so far you see we've got the middle of the flower and we have the leaves and everything. So we only lack our sky and the petals. So what I'm gonna do with the petals is I'm going to kind of sketch out some petals very lightly on my paper, okay? So I'm gonna sketch them. Some of them are gonna go this way and some of them are gonna go that way and some of them are gonna go straight ahead. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw petals all around the edge, like so, of my one piece of paper. And you can make different sizes. Some of them can curl around, some of them can be skinny, and some of them can be long. But I'm gonna take my petals like this, and I'm going to cut them all out, because this part is going to just be the petal. So I'm going to go ahead and make it easier on myself for that part. Now, I'm gonna show you a trick in a minute, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut out these petals. Now, if you've ever seen a sunflower in real life, you're gonna know that some of them get kind of dried up and the edges kind of curl. So it's okay if your petals aren't exactly perfect, because they're all different and they start to kind of get shriveled. And I think they're really neat looking when they get kind of shrivelly. I like the way that looks. So I've got all different sizes of petals. If you don't stay right on the line, it doesn't matter, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue down the side that has the pencil mark showing. So it doesn't matter if you cut it out perfectly or not, because the side with the pencil, we're not gonna even let it show. We're going to make that pencil side point down. Now, here's something neat that you can do with the scraps. So I've got all my little petals like this. So I'm gonna divide all of those out and I'm gonna put them face down where I can't see the pencil marks anymore, because I don't wanna glue it down where you can see the pencils. I just wanna glue down the pretty side. So I'm gonna put all my scraps down here and I'm gonna show you a neat trick with the scraps. So here's my scraps and here's my petals. So what I'm gonna do with the scraps is I'm just gonna take them and make some little shorter petals. Because usually they're shorter petals toward the edge, and then as it goes out further, they get longer. So I'm just gonna use my scraps to make some more petals. So I'm just gonna take what I've got and I'm gonna make some shorter petals so I'm not wasting my paper that way. Gotta be thrifty. You wanna make sure that you're saving them. I was recording. Okay, so I'm cutting my little petals. So those are my shorter ones. So we don't waste all of our paper. Nice colored paper is expensive, so you want to make sure you don't waste it. So see, now I've just got these little teeny scraps that I'm throwing away instead of great big scraps like these, because these can all be used. So anytime you're doing anything that's a collage, make sure that you save the papers that are big enough to do something with, because you might just need one little smidge of a color, and that'll save you from having to buy a whole nother pack. You might just need one little piece. Okay, so that's gonna get us started. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to kind of map it out to see what I've got so far. Now remember, we still don't want it to touch. So I'm gonna put the smaller pieces last. So I'm gonna put my bigger pieces first. Make sure they're gonna fit. Go all the way around. And if it goes off the paper, that's okay. It's no big deal. You can always go back and cut them later. If they go off the edge. Now this is the part where I'm going to make an exception, and we're going to let it overlap a little bit from the flowers coming out, because otherwise it's just going to look weird. So that's okay. But I obviously need some more petals. So I'm going to go back and cut some more, and then I'll come back in a minute and show you what to do next, okay? Okay, as you can see, I have added layers of petals. So I'm just going to show you how we're going to go around and add into these spaces. So you make sure that you leave some space in between them, so you can go back and add in some more petals. So you don't have any blank spaces. And you want the petals to come right up to the edge. And then you can go back and put some glue underneath it to make sure that they stick. Okay? So once you've got all of those on there like that, you've got your sunflower. Now you're gonna add in your blue. If you wanted to, you could actually go back and add in another layer of the smaller petals if you want to. That's totally up to you. It's your picture. You can do it however you want, but I realize it takes a while, so if you're ready to move on, I totally get it. So we're going to move on to our blue background. And like I said, you want to mix in the different blues. So I'm going to start from the outside and go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out here and paint on some glue in that one area. And then I'm just going to start filling in with my background blue. So I'm going to mix up my two different patterns, because I don't want them to all be, I don't want to have a whole section of solid blue and then a whole section of my pattern blue. I want to mix it all in there together, different, where it's got different ones. Don't forget to leave little spaces. Peel that up and move it just a little bit so it's got more space. So yeah, you're just going to go over it, and then you can go back and add a little bit of glue over the top. And you're just going to continue to go all the way over, filling in your background with your blue until you get over to your petals. Now, here's the part where you might want to think about what you're going to do is you might cut some of your pieces where they go down into your petals, in between your petals. So I'm not gluing these yet, I'm just doing it as an idea. So then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my other pieces and I'm going to cut some triangular shapes to put down in there like that to make the mosaics fit a little bit better. And then I can add in some of these other smaller shapes, see? So that's the plan with that. So you can add the different little sections in the way that you want to, like that. So you just are going to cut some of your pieces into smaller little shards like that, and then fill in your spaces. So I might want to cut some of these, and I might want to cut the different little sections the way that you want them. And they don't all have to be exactly the same. You don't have to make them match. So I might do this little piece and this piece and then add that to the top. So you're going to add all your background in, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what it ends up looking like. And maybe yours will look similar, or maybe yours will look different, and that's cool. I would love to see your mosaics when you get finished. So I'm going to get to work and I'll come back and show you what I've done. Okay, so here we have the finished product, our mosaic sunflower in the style of Faith Ringgold. I'm going to show you some more pictures that have some of Faith Ringgold's mosaics that she put in the subways, and it's something I think that you can still go see from what I can figure out. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this lesson. I know it was a long one, but I hope you enjoyed it, and please let me see what you made, okay? I hope you guys have a great day. See you soon. Bye.